Solo cast. I wanted to try gameplay, but the gameplay is as I am talking. So today's topic of choice is the extreme topic of what is the meaning of life. Well, for me to do that, I gotta break some things down, kind of explain myself and my reasoning, and such as when you when I talk about life itself, I think of meaning life as what do we want to achieve as we are on this mortal earth. So no matter what religion you believe in or whatever, at some point, who you are right now will end. You may perceive it differently as I may be reincarnated. Some maybe I may go to the ideas of Christianity, for example, of heaven or hell, or in other religions and stuff where they have places, or that you come back, or you simply just exist as matter itself. Overall, your mortal being right now will end, is the conclusive thought most can all agree upon. And what I like to discuss is why are we here then? What are we doing before that ends? I mean, very simply, I believe we're here to enjoy this life. And that may be seen as controversial at the same time as nice, because I believe this because I never truly was one to have a goal in mind. I never cared for being rich or famous. I just cared to be comfortable and happy. So whenever I thought of the meaning of life, I always considered for my own purpose, the meaning of life is simply getting the chance to just exist peacefully at some point. And yes, there were struggles, of course. There's no infinite joy or happiness. It's just I want to make sure that most of what I'm experiencing is joy and happiness. So I always saw the meaning of life as living the best I can. And one may argue that it's something else. I mean, how can you argue what is our purpose in life? You can argue why we are here. You can say we're here the product of our parents producing us. And then you can argue we're the product of simply matter becoming something else, becoming us, which isn't wrong. I mean, life itself is defined as scientifically a couple of characteristics that all life has in common, and that is it. That's what defines me as life. What defines a cactus as life. Therefore, when referring to the meaning of life, one could simply use just the task of how we define life as that, where we define life as, for example, reproduction, producing offspring, but therefore we can see it as the meaning of life is just offspring, which in reality is a lot for many species, theoretically, which also kind of proposes the question, can we truly look at the meaning of life as a universal thing? Is the meaning of life for me the same as universal life for a rabbit? Is the meaning of life for me the same as a person who lives in Uganda? That's not a real country, I made that up. I mean in Rwanda, let's say. What defers that meaning of life? And is there one universal one? I mean, there's one that we define by science, and there's one that we define by in certain religions, but one cannot say a definite meaning of life. And I feel it more poses in the ethical discussions, which I am no expert in, which also should propose that I am no expert in philosophy or any of such as that. I actually dislike it, but today I want to delve into it just to play around. And and for me to do that, I kind of have to break it down because I need all the pieces before I can put a puzzle together. I can't just start impromptu doing it. So we define what life is scientifically. What I learned in my own education, what life is defined as. Well, then, I'm breaking it down to then, from my own perspective, I am, first things first, a human. Therefore, I can I can display my meaning of life differently than that is a rabbit, where I have different pros and cons that they themselves do not have to deal with, which most times allocates to a certain style of meaning of life, which would be the same for any animal in that sort. So really, we can't, as I said again, we can't do it for any other. But focusing on me then, to break myself down even more, I live in the United States of America, which is another difference between me and someone living in Nigeria. Because we've grown up with different outcomes, different social structures, different all of those. Next, I, I technically live in the South, which already is a different style because the Southern people are more known to be nature-like, therefore more relaxed and more simple in a way. Is what I feel like we're perceived as. I'm a teenager, so right now the meaning of life is simply just trying to progress until to have something to call life of my own. Because at this point, I live with my parents. Therefore, I am not a. Therefore, I am not truly worrying about paying bills or taxes yet. It's my meaning of purpose of life is to simply be able to have a good life, and that is it. And then I am. Actually, that is as far as I would like to go. So, talking more about that meaning of. Talking more about me wanting to go make myself a good life. What is that good life? What can we do? What can I define as a good life? I mean, I would argue a good life is a life that has joy in it and a meaningful connection, which is to me a very important thing. The idea of this, for lack of better words, love or a intimate relationship such as that is part of that idea. But for others, it may not even be considered. They're fine with contempt and stuff, which isn't wrong. It's just the importance of how we define the meaning of life, because everyone has a different view on it. So continuing on, I define meaning of life as having a good job. I want to become a statistician. So once I get into my field, I theoretically would have reached the purpose of my life in that case. Once I am in a relationship, I would have reached the purpose of it. But it would keep going, because I think the meaning of life is then not just to enjoy life, but to always be going forward. And that's a niche definition. I define going forward as always having a next goal, because does that mean one can live in stagnation? It's just meaning that there is something new, which can be as big or small. Such as a small thing could be me trying to go fight the Ender Dragon. It's not small, but technically it is a goal, not one of importance or magnitude, such as hoping to get into college and graduate, but it is a goal nonetheless. So by being able to move forward, I believe you can also be achieving the meaning of life. It's simply move forward, because there's no real good answer for this question, because as my friend once said, we are just a bunch of meat sacks. Therefore, there's no point to having a meaning of life. We're just there. We don't need to have something driving us, but to an extent, all life does. I mean, for most, it's simply producing something that will leave a legacy. For others, it's producing something that they can enjoy. For me, it's simply being happy. So, the meaning of life can exist. And I feel that that's what, on a psychological level, kind of defines life, is that we have a meaning to do something. But with that same definition, we could define something such as a virus as a life in that idea, because they have a purpose. Their goal is to simply make more of themselves, which in reality is a goal to find in life. So to define meaning of life, there's a lot of characteristics that I can't hit on. This requires an actual scholar. And the main thing about discovering meaning in life is that you have to consider what life is. Life is made up of many experiences. Life is made up of many joys and sadness, emotions, possibility. It's made up of experiences that are unique and non-unique. It's made up of many things such. Which means life is not a characteristic that we can truly adjust to everyone. But also, we can then say that meaning of life is also one that has to be unique. And overall, that's my main point, is that life is unique of itself. And that uniqueness kind of creates really a meaning of life answer to be the answer of infinity, where everything's the meaning of life. One purpose of life for one is simply dying. I mean, that is to an extent the goal overall, because when we say you want to live a good life, implies that there will be an end. Therefore, you're implying you would like to die one day, simply to showcase that you've lived that good life, to create a proper stop to prove that a source of time did happen. So death can be technically a meaning of life. So when you say our meaning of life is death, you're not wrong in that case. But then you also consider it's perspective-wise, because that I literally just made the perspective of how death is technically considered by the meaning of life when one considers you want to have a good life. Meaning of life can be simply finding someone. Because for some, that is it. Once they have found someone that they can connect to, they feel accomplished and powerful. Because they can be able to find a person that can make them happy, I would guess. That requires its own little episode of that topic. But otherwise, it's a meaning of life. So, the meaning of life is a weird thing. It makes no sense from any standards, really. There's no answer to it. There's no correct answer. There's no wrong answer. It's just a point that we make to give ourselves meaning. So the meaning of life is asking the meaning of life, one could then say. Which is true. I mean, every day we discover everything there, which puts it as everything, anything. So every time you pick up a stick or I turn on this computer, I am accomplishing the meaning of life. Because if we've declared in this little point that meaning of life can be anything, everything is the meaning of life. Death is the meaning of life. Waking up is the meaning of life. Being born is the meaning of life. Everything and anything is the meaning of life. The main one I see as my prime one, the one I follow the most, is being happy. So, that is my meaning of life. The meaning of life of a rabbit in my house up there in the game, his purpose is to survive. Reproduce, maybe? Who knows? I mean, that's really just programming, but would they have a meaning of life? Once we've entered the age of AI and stuff, like true AI, what would their meaning of life be? Can we define them as alive? I don't know. I care not for technology such as that, but if one did, how could they approach that? Do they have all the characteristics of life from a biological standpoint? Well, do they? Did they have the ability of free thought, such as us humans? But meaning that they were able to jump the scale, does that mean that they are living themselves to be able to compare themselves to us? Does it matter that they can? Because we are humans, but does it matter that we're humans? We are animals, technically. We do everything as any animal would. We just do it differently. And we do it with the idea of conscious in mind. No, not conscious. Higher level thinking, complex thought is all we add to it. And with complex thought, we believe that we're the highest plane, but from what we know, we're not even close to the higher plane. There's ways of going higher than us. We are not perfection, but that could be a standpoint of the meaning of life, to achieve that perfection, to achieve the master species of complete and total power, omnipotent, or even farther one, really. But from a Christian standpoint, that's heresy to try to claim that. Scientifically, it does not matter. Science is just simply looking for the solution. But then you would have to define the problem. But from my humble little stance, I see no problem. There are errors in this world that exist, but we just continue on. We just recover. Everything cannot be fixed. There's a solution for everything, but does not mean everything can be fixed. Because the solution can be the hardest choice in the world, which makes it a problem. So this cycle of thought and deeds and such as those continue on forever, really. We have no control over them. We have the ability to perceive them, but that is it. As humans, that is our nature. We can perceive things and think about it. But do we want to think about them? No. I don't. But I am here today, standing in front of you, explaining the meaning of life as if a mad, crazy hobo man. Which implies I know nothing again. Which makes this entire little spiel pointless. So, who knows what the meaning of life is? Because I don't. If I'm some crazy kid just talking on the internet. Will anyone hear this? Maybe. Maybe not. That is the meaning of life. That you exist. I like that. The meaning of life is just simply you exist. That is what it means to be alive. You are here. You eat. Your body wants to stay at a normal temperature by doing homeostasis. You do all of these things. So, have you achieved the meaning of life by being alive? As one who dies achieved the meaning of life? I don't know. But who does know? If you're a Christian or in any religion that's monothesis, is there a God that you're trying to get to? If you're polytheist, is there gods you want to get to? If none of those, is there some plane that you want to reach? Some point of existence that you just want to stop at? Is death the meaning of life? Is game the meaning of life? What it is? Huh. Kind of strange. I kind of worked backwards in my thought, didn't I? I started out by giving you my answer, then and I'm soon going to end with my question. Because that is life. It is a continual pattern backwards. We are slowly progressing to a baby-like state, where, if you think about it, we slowly learn more and more, and then as we get older, we realize that there's a point where we just don't know more anymore. We know nothing. We only know the things that we are told. So, meaning life can be simply we move forward and backwards. Meaning of life can be we are stuck in one point and we're forever in that point. No change can happen. But change happens all the time. These differences and contraries present everything. Because as I've learned in my time in education, in the American education system, in my time there, I've learned that every essential difference came from similarities. Every essential similarity came from differences. So with all the different meanings of life, they will have an essential similarity, but all the similarities of life have an essential difference. One can then see that the essential similarity of all living things is simply the scientific definitions of living, where we do all these activities for living itself. So by doing all these activities, we are all similar in that case. But in how we all have these characteristics, the essential difference is how we go about them. Humans have preferences of what food they want to eat because they believe that it feels morally wrong, while an animal will just eat another animal because it needs to eat. It will eat that creature because it sees it is viable for sustenance. On accident, you create a essential similarity and a difference. I think the meaning of life is that contrary. It's where you make it unique. It's that unique feeling. Because kind of going back in time, from the very beginning, meaning of life is unique to each and every one because of its essential similarity and its essential difference. So really, the meaning of life is you. You, the person listening to this, the person sitting next to you. They are their own meaning of life. Where they are questioning what to do that day. Every time they do something, every time they achieve a goal, every time they fail, they are achieving their meaning of life. So, with that, I think this is going to be a very short episode since I don't want to drag it out too long because I am repeating myself, but hopefully you enjoyed today. I'm recording this at 7:44, so that's why I'm kind of tired. But I hope you all have a truly lovely day, or evening, or whatever time. Hope you have an enjoyable existence.